All right, well, that's an interesting term. Why do you call it distributed cloud?
So the reason we call it distributed cloud is I've kind of described the edge compute locations, but the consumption model we think is really going to be cloud-based. So you're going to be able to spin up containers. You're going to be able to deploy your workload to the right edge location, and you're going to be able to turn it down when you're done and just pay for what you use. So we say, edge compute plus the cloud consumption model equals distributed cloud. That's why we use the term.
Okay, well, that makes sense. All right, so then how does Pluribus plug into this diagram?
Because of this explosion, if you look at these numbers I wrote here, 5 to 10, 10 plus, and then n by 10,
Yeah.
you can have a massive increase in complexity. It's already hard enough to manage a centralized data center.
Yeah, like here is a challenge, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, imagine you've got all these dark locations, you don't have people out there,
Right.
You've got to network it all together. We're working on solving the networking problem and simplifying that, lowering operational costs, lowering capital costs, increasing agility.
Gotcha. Okay.
So our approach is to bring what we call a network fabric to this problem, and it's fundamentally an SDN-enabled next-generation network fabric for distributed cloud.
So SDN, software-defined networking.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
For the distributed cloud.
Right.
Gotcha.
Now we have a unique approach. We do this without a controller.
Okay.
So we have, if you think about SDN, typically you think that's an external controller
Right.
holding the state of the network
Sure.
and programming the switches.
Yeah, now we think that's going to struggle as we start to get this model, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what we've done is we said, let's still get a full view of the state of the network, get the benefits of SDN programmability and operational simplification, but distribute that into the switches themselves. So now every switch in here, all of these switches, have the state of the network, and they have the SDN intelligence that allows you to go into any one switch and see and control the entire fabric.
And I would assume that we could be talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of switches, right?
You could have TBD number of switches depending on the type of organization you are.
Wow. Okay.
We do have kind of recommendations on how big of a fabric you should make.
Okay.
So if you're really big, you might end up with some number of fabrics,
Right,
and,
okay.
and then federate those together.
Gotcha. Okay.
However, you're still kind of reducing your complexity, let's say a factor of 10 or 20.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
And so, what we're going to see is we're going to see a fabric that stretches across all of this, right? And instead of, let's say, 30, 40 switches, let's say it was 40, it's going to look like one.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay. Right.
And then what we're going to do, one of the important things about edge compute, and in particular as driven by 5G, which we talked about, is network slicing.
Okay.
Right? And this is the ability to completely slice the network across management, data, and control plane, so you can have multi-tenancy if you're a service provider, or if you're an enterprise, you can have a specific slice for a particular application.
So kind of like a QoS almost?
Fundamentally, yeah,
Okay.
except you're literally slicing the network and creating resources that are dedicated to each slice. And so I don't know if that works, but that's,
Yeah, that makes sense.
3 slices.
Sure.
3 slices. So you've got one fabric with 3 slices. You could have one for autonomous vehicles. You could have one for corporate traffic. You could have one for sensor data.
So it sounds to me like you guys have got the foundation for kind of this problem and are really setting people up to manage this problem as it grows.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining us, Mike.
It's been great to be here.
I'm George Crump, lead analyst with Storage Switzerland. Thank you for joining us today.